Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, look at him, he's Mexican Superman. It's Arturo Zurita.
For anyone who hasn't seen the movie, that's going to sound extremely funny, but I'm going to take it as a compliment from the heart, Zach. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here alongside our boy. Is he there? I can't even see him. I can't see him on my screen. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Fernando. Say hi to everybody.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Man, you always come in with so much enthusiasm. I appreciate that. But if Fernando's not going to give us that enthusiasm, Zach, we have a little announcement to actually make.
Yes. Well, in a little bit, we're going to be talking about Quentin Tarantino and James Wan, a potential reunion of Simon Pegg with Nick Frost. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video podcast on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio podcast available on most podcatchers. Including Spotify.
Ooh,
we heard the requests. We saw your comments. We worked on it. We called up Mr. Spotify himself. And we are on Spotify. Search up Intercut Pod. You can catch every episode of Intercut streaming on Spotify now. So make sure you're following us there. Also follow us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, at Intercut Pod. That's at Intercut Pod. That's short for podcast. Art, let's start the show. We start the way we start it every week. What you watching, buddy?
Euphoria. Euphoria is a must-watch. I will not be taking any further questions at this time. Your Honor, Shevik. That's all I have to say. That's what I've been watching. I can't read
your board. You got to turn your laptop. I can't read your board.
Oh, you can't read my board. Sorry about that. There you go. You see that right there? I know it's backwards for you. You see it? Yeah, there you go. I said it. Euphoria is a must-watch. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Mine's short and simple this week.
Okay. Easy enough. I'm sure we'll get into more details on Euphoria at some point.
We'll probably have a whole Let Us Explain, because once you watch it, you'll know. I don't want to say anything more. I feel like people already, if they know they need to watch Euphoria, they know they need to watch Euphoria. I think we talked about it a little in a previous podcast, too. So,
yes, we did.
The next thing I want to say is just full spoilers on this. I gotta be careful.
All right, Fernando. Last week on the show, I promised I would watch The Art of Self-Defense. I didn't watch The Art of Self-Defense, but I heard you did.
I did, yeah. Thankfully, Regal finally caught up to AMC.
Hey.
Gave me their subscription service.
They sit on your left.
Yeah, and I was able to check out Art of Self-Defense yesterday. Hobbs and Shaw, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, Art of Self-Defense was definitely the highlight for me because I didn't expect it to like it as much. I know, Art, you saw it at South by, I think?
Yeah, hilarious.
And I thought it was super funny. Jesse Eisenberg's so strange. I feel like all his characters are kind of just an extension of his actual personality. Yeah. But he was hilarious in this. The director, I think this is his first feature, or maybe his second, but definitely.
Yeah, he had a previous one called Faults with Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, okay. But I definitely think this is gonna be his.
It's a standout.
His breakout,
What are some of your favorite scenes?
Man,
because it's such a dry humor. It's really weird to set it up.
Are there any other movies that you would compare it to, just in how dry the humor is?
I want to say not entirely similar to a lot of Taika's humor, but kind of Hunt for the Wilder People. I mean, I love dry humor. I love it. My favorite scene, I loved everything with the dog. There's a dog in the movie, and all the scenes with the dog were so good.
Hey, I got something for you, actually, if that's the case. Yeah. Oh, man, I don't even know where they left it for me. They actually sent me something.
Oh, I saw it,
To answer I saw you comment on it on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
They sent you a coaster?
I don't even know where I left it, but to answer Zach's question, pretty much, there was I'll find it towards the end of it, or maybe we'll insert a picture. I guess I lost it. I'm not deserving of it. What does he say in the movie? He literally says, "This is your belt. It is irreplaceable."
Yeah.
That'll be $30 to replace it. When I tweeted about the movie, I compared it a lot to The Dead Don't Die in terms of its dryness and its humor. And the official page for the Art of Self-Defense responded with, "No, we're better. Join the karate classes now." Which just You know?
It's so good. Like,
You know what I'm talking about?
once he gets his belt, it's like you see like the happiness in him.
It's crazy. It's funny. Now, some people have seen it, and they're actually not fans of it. Someone had tweeted out to me, I guess. One of the questions that I had received was about how, like, people weren't liking it. I had a couple of messages about that. I was like, I mean, I guess it's a dry humor. You're always going to have that. But, yeah, they had sent me this patch. I don't even know how they had my address. I really don't. But they sent me this patch, and it was a little wiener dog type thing that you get. But I'm glad you liked it as well. I've been waiting for Zach. Zach gives me, oh man, if you only knew, gives me so much for not watching his recommendations. And it was at Tribeca, huh?
I actually don't think it was at Tribeca. I would have caught if it was at Tribeca.
Don't matter. He lives in New York. He gets all the movies
He
a
gets
year
everything.
early. I've been there in New
like,
York. I saw Mulan already. Like, this man had it right there and he didn't see it. That said, though, I will give him this. Do you hear about iPic theaters? I don't know if that was something we had in the discussion, but I'll mention it briefly here because I know he lives next to one.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
You may, if you're a frequent listener to the podcast, you may have heard that I don't have the AMC A list and I don't have Regal Unlimited. Those aren't the theaters that are close to me. Unfortunately, I'm close to an iPic, which I think David Ehrlich poignantly once described as the luxury movie theater for people who don't like movies.
Perfectly put.
They charge you so much money.
I think my last ticket was $1,500. So it's interesting to hear that they're filing for bankruptcy considering they charge that much. That didn't include the blanket, Zach.
Oh my god.
That was
so RIP iPic, please replace the iPic near me with something cheaper.
Yeah.
As for what I've been watching, guys, since the last time we podcasted, we got a new Quentin Tarantino movie.
We did, yes.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this is much like many other Quentin Tarantino's movies. It's a rambly, dialogue-filled period piece, although this one is centered around something that he loves very much, classic movies, 70s Hollywood, or late 60s into the 70s Hollywood. Yeah. You've got the matching of Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, two of our generation's biggest movie stars. What did you guys think of the movie?
Are we having the conversation here? Because you're all right. This is huge.
We can take this to a Let Us Explain, but I think we should at least give a taste for the intercut.
I got you. Fernando, I'll start off with you.
Go for me first? Okay.
Yeah.
I overall... What, because I hate Tarantino? Is that what you're going to say?
Because you despise cinema in general.
I do. Overall, I liked it very much. Not my favorite Tarantino. Obviously, Inglourious is his masterpiece, as we all know. Did feel the runtime a little bit. You know, most of his movies tend to be on the longer side. This one's like...
Zach, did you feel it too?
I felt it too, but I don't know how much of that is also... I saw it at a late night screening. I was out of the movie at like 2 a.m.
It's one of those things, right? I can't say that as well because I saw it at the Music Box. Lovely theater. About to turn 90 years old. So are their seats. Keep it there.
Yeah. I think the highlights for me were Brad Pitt. I think everyone is mostly saying that Cliff Booth is like a great character. Yep. I love Leo's too. And I think everything with them was way more interesting to me than the Sharon Tate stuff, even though after I've been thinking about it and seeing other people talk about it, I might revisit it and might see certain things a little bit differently with the Sharon Tate things. And yeah, all the Manson stuff, people were like, they're going to like show like the murders and like, you know, it wasn't really that. So I kind of appreciated that.
I've found that whenever I walk out of Quentin Tarantino movie, and maybe I'll preface this with the fact that I'm not a huge Quentin Tarantino fan.
Really?
Yeah, not a huge one. I'm not a hater. Whenever I walk out of a Quentin Tarantino movie, I tend to think it's okay. And I thought about that. I thought that about Inglourious Basterds, which has become my favorite of the Quentin Tarantino movies. I thought that about Pulp Fiction too. For whatever reason, maybe it's because he kind of doesn't follow a formula. He's kind of so much of an individual in his style of filmmaking that I think it takes a little time to wash over me and for me to process it.
That makes sense.
So my initial reaction to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was that it's okay, which, like I said, is my reaction to every Tarantino movie. But there are a lot of interesting things that I have been chewing over. I really did love the performances from Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. I would not be surprised if both of them stayed in the running as we get closer to Oscar season.
Who's what?
So this is one of those stupid things where they're going to do some category fraud.
Yeah.
If we were honest, they would both be Best Actor, but because Brad Pitt literally supports Leo in the movie, I bet you they're going to put him in supporting.
100%.
Okay, so Zach and Scooby are supposed to be like the low of the bunch. Why do we watch? Who's the show named after?
Yeah, but so with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I found it was a really interesting vibe, and he is a signature writer of dialogue, and that snappy dialogue is there and is really riveting in scenes, but I kept waiting for the movie to get going, and even for a Quentin Tarantino movie, this movie felt particularly plotless. It doesn't mean it's not enjoyable, but it did feel a little bit like stuck in neutral, maybe I'd say, compared to some of his other works.
Like, there's always a motive for each person. In Django, it was you knew that he wanted to get Broomhilda. And in Glorious, it's obviously to take down the Nazis. Here, it's like, will his career revive? Will it? Will it not? Maybe. We'll see. Does it matter?
Will he fix the TV antenna? Won't he?
Yeah, will the dog get fed in time? I'm not exactly sure. Do you think that it's just because of the boom of the internet that we're having more of a discussion when it comes to a Tarantino release? Or could it just be... is it the movie itself, or is it just because we all have more access that we're having so many more discussions? Because I don't remember this being the case for The Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
we had a little bit of Jennifer Jason Leigh getting beat up.
Yeah, I'll say two things about that, because I think, one, this is a just extremely more accessible movie than The Hateful Eight. There is a Tarantino-esque splurge of violence, but it's not until late in film.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's mostly like a hangout movie. It's about a subject that a lot of people are interested in.
Quentin Tarantino, some have said.
Right. And the other thing is, it's got Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in a movie together. That like in an era where we don't have a lot of movie stars left, that still feels like something.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, when he put out Django, his big thing was he wanted to start a conversation. I don't think it started anything. Plus, 12 Years a Slave had come out. I don't really understand what that whole interview was about, if you guys know what interview I'm talking about, where he cut the reporter off. With this one, though, even in the... And I don't just mean the ending. And I don't just mean Sharon Tate's lines. And I don't just mean like, oh, is this a metaphor for how the character is falling in the shift of the 60s to the 70s, just like Tarantino says, if there's no more celluloid, there's no more me. Now with the age of streaming coming in, I think there's so many discussions that are being had about the movie, and it's not to say that none of his other movies had it, but it's like even the Bruce Lee stuff. Even the talks, the talks that come in when you see some of the characters who were cut out of the movie, how it comes back to streaming. Did you know he's got The Hateful Eight on Netflix? Not just the movie. He's got the Hateful Eight miniseries. In other words, a platform that allowed him to truly tell his vision that couldn't be told in theaters, and they're in talks to do the same thing for Once Upon a Time. I don't know if it's ironic. I don't know if like the resolve is just like, good, we came into the best terms possible. What do you think?
I actually just watched the Hateful Eight miniseries.
The 4-part?
Enough, the 4-part miniseries. I personally couldn't tell where the changes were, other than like obviously there are breaks in it. I read that there's about 20 minutes of new material, but it all kind of felt like I had seen it before. I don't know. But it did kind of lend itself to that miniseries format, which makes me really interested in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's so much more of like a loosely structured thing.
And it's episodic. He's dealing with the show, yeah.
We know there is a lot that is on the cutting room floor. I stayed through the credits to see that in the special thanks, he's got James Marsden. Was it Tim Roth, I think? Both who were
James
cut
Marsden
out
was going to play young Burt Reynolds.
That's right.
What?
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah, so I find it hard to believe that some of these great actors showed up for like so little. That Scoot McNairy was there just to get shot, Like, I feel like there must be more on the cutting room floor, so I'd be really interested in seeing an expanded version of this on Netflix or wherever.
Do you guys ever have that thing when Scoot McNairy comes out in a movie, you go, is that?
Yeah.
Is that Scoot McNairy? Also, I'm an idiot. I left it here specifically. It was on my board the whole time. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Art of Self-Defense. I left it on here because specifically I said, you know what I'm going to need it for? The podcast. The podcast, sorry. The pod. That's short for podcast. But no, I think overall we liked it, right? Would you put it top half Tarantino or lower half Tarantino? For me, I feel like it's in the middle, but I have yet to give it that second rewatch.
Yeah, it's, again, like I said, I really want to marinate with it a little bit more.
That's what a Tarantino movie
develop
does.
my opinion on it. I'd say it's probably lower half Tarantino to me, just
Interesting.
in that he's made. And it's not because the movie's so bad or anything. It's because he's made so many iconic movies. You know.
What's your top three?
For me, it's Inglourious, Reservoir, and Pulp. But Jackie Brown is close to that too. So
I go Django, Reservoir, and I think him personally, Inglourious. Like he said it at the ending, is his best. What are your closing thoughts, Fernando, in your top three?
Inglourious, Pulp, and then
Death Proof. That's crazy, bro.
Death Proof. No. I think it's Kill
Bill is one movie.
Kill Bill's one movie, so you can include it there. You even get the third one with it, so I would. That's a pretty good option. That's 3 movies.
Kill Volume 1 or Django, but probably Django. And then probably middle of the pack.
Makes sense.
All right, well, let us know what you've been watching in the comments or on by shooting us an email. The address for that is intercutpod@gmail.com. We're going to move on to the yay or nay, where we break down the latest happenings in entertainment, starting with Quentin Tarantino.
Hey, what do you know?
Once Upon a Time features several fictional depictions of real-life people. However, it's the depiction of Bruce Lee that has become somewhat controversial. In a notable scene, Bruce Lee boasts about his fighting ability in front of Brad Pitt's character before challenging Pitt to a fight. Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, told the LA Times she found the depiction to be disheartening and unnecessary, while others have labeled it as disrespectful. But art, yay or nay, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood disrespects Bruce Lee's legacy.
Do you remember when the trailer came out and people tweeted about this and they were very angry, saying, how could a random stuntman beat up Bruce Lee, as they saw in the trailer? And people said, no, they're training for a sketch, all these different, like, that they're both stuntmen. And there's always this dumb Twitter, like, rage that goes on about these things. And I'm always like, they're 100% correct in my opinion. So for me to say that I'm with the Twitter outrage here, when I saw the scene, no lie, I looked over to Lena and I said, I guess the ending to this movie a while ago, I think I told you guys my theory of what it was going to be, and I ended up being pretty close. I told Alina, I said, if he beats up Bruce Lee right now, because I don't think you understand, like, I have buddies who are so obsessed with Bruce Lee, like, I know the legend that he is. So when I saw him get chucked and dent a car, I understand.
Does it mean anything to you that they technically tied?
Oh yeah, and Dom and Vin, Dom and The Rock also tied in the Fast. Yeah, no, I don't believe in that whatsoever. No, one dented a car, the other one didn't. One straight up disrespected the other person, and it goes beyond that too. That whole line about like, oh, I would have beat Cassius Clay to a pulp. That's not what he said. Like the only thing he's on record doing, whether they fought on their own like Creed, Rocky style, that's their thing. But on record, he came out as saying is no, he would pummel me in the street. He was a nice guy.
Yeah.
There are some people who have objected to the depiction of Bruce Lee as potentially being able to lose in a fight to this Cliff character played by Brad Pitt, and there are a lot of others who have objected more to the depiction of Bruce Lee as someone who's arrogant, who's boastful.
That was the real problem that got me, because I get it. It's you can see it as disrespectful without the arrogance, him beating him up. Or you can see it as, of course, at the end, when the scene happens, of course this guy's going to take him. Did you not see who he beat up in the first third of the movie? I understood that right away, and I hated it. That's when I knew he was going to beat him up, because I connected the dots. That said, though, the arrogancy, someone had said, and I'm pretty sure you're going to bring this up as well, I'm sure you heard about the idea that Polanski had actually said that
Paul Tarantino?
His probably on the Howard Stern show of all places too. No, he actually had suspected. There's actually really good. I saw this tweet from Justin Chang, if I'm not mistaken, from the LA Times. He had tweeted out this piece. Obviously, he was very vocal on his perspective, being an Asian American critic, who talked about like disrespecting Bruce Lee there, but also shared a critique of him, which is why I really like looking up his stuff. Not a critique of him, but another critique that was counter of it, kind of saying that that was Tarantino paying homage or paying a tribute to him having a soft. I really didn't see it. I don't agree with it. But it was the idea that Polanski accused him, saying only one person is strong enough to have taken out all these people at once. Literally, it's in the news. Polanski said, that's their main suspect. I kid you not. Look it up. I was like, what? I still don't think that's reason to beat up Bruce Lee in your movie when there are 3 movies, took inspiration and literally ripped off his yellow jumpsuit. So it's a big name from me, Zach. It's a big name from me.
So I'm gonna go. It's not disrespectful, and I'm gonna say partially because of that yellow jumpsuit in Kill Bill. Like, there's clearly a reverence that Quentin Tarantino has for Bruce Lee, but Tarantino is a guy who has, in his depiction of real people, shotgun or machine gunned Adolf Hitler in the face. Like, he doesn't really go by the historical record, and in fact, many times he goes completely against the historical record. That's not what I'm expecting from a Quentin Tarantino movie. If the movie is pretending to be some kind of version of the truth, that's one thing. But I don't think anybody walks into a Quentin Tarantino movie and feels like what they're getting is what it was actually like.
I wanted to agree with you, except for the fact of how closely based Rick Dalton's character is to Burt Reynolds, because it's literally based off of his stuntman, and he kept that so close to T. He is such a nerd. You do know Quentin Tarantino made an IMDb page for Rick Dalton? No, he wrote scripts for all of his TV show pilots. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Have you heard his Variety interview where he talked about how he wasn't able to work with a director? Rick Dalton's not a real character, and he's talking about his TMZ news that happened to him in 1964. He has a whole history to him. Even showed Sharon Tate. Even showed last minute casting, what's his name, who plays Steve McQueen, right? Why are all those able to be true depictions and not Bruce Lee?
Well, I don't think the Sharon Tate's a true depiction either. I feel like there are all sorts of things that are fictionalized in their way. I just don't view it to be
Manson
reflective
came out nicer,
of history.
Bro, in the movie. Manson came out nicer which also.
Well, yeah, and that's another reason why I feel like it shows the way that Tarantino kind of inverts a lot of history, that he doesn't go to show you how evil Manson is, and
just hurt, man. It's Bruce, and I've been waiting for that, like a good tribute to Bruce in a while.
Totally.
And that's another story. One of the most iconic guys who lived on his legacy with the Kill Bill stuff, and had so many people look back and be like, "Where is that suit from?" I don't know. This is like your one chance, and you got a dude who looked a lot like him.
When I walked out of the movie, I also took that entire scene to be fantasy. Now, there seems to be a debate about whether that's fantasy or flashback.
If Bruce would have whooped him at the end, I'd been okay. You think it's a fantasy?
In a fantasy? Yeah, because so we start the scene after Cliff is on the roof, and the scene ends and Cliff is back on the roof, as if this is something that he's thinking about. Mm-hmm. So that's why some people think this is either a flashback or a fantasy.
That's how I
take it. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow, and I hope you are correct.
But it's for the movie that Rick is currently working on, I believe.
Because you get how it doesn't make sense, right? I hope that everything I'm depicting is like, I'm confused how a person who paid so much tribute to him would have a scene like this. It has to be a fantasy.
To me, it makes sense as a fantasy.
Have you guys seen what the actor who plays Bruce Lee said?
No.
You haven't? Okay, so he did an interview, and I'm just going to read his quotes. So they asked him, like, after Bruce Lee's daughter had made those comments, he was like, so what do you think? He said, I knew from the jump Tarantino loves Bruce Lee. He reveres him. Yeah, so let me be clear. In the film, it was a challenge. Best 2 out of 3. He says, I can see how people might think Bruce got beat because of the impact with the car, said Mo, but you give me 5 more seconds and Bruce would have won. I think
the Jordan push. I don't know.
From when he says he understands what Tarantino was trying to say.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll play middleman because I could see both. To me, the depiction of him being bested by the Cliff Booth character wasn't a problem to me, because to me it's like, oh, Cliff Booth's like this fictional character, right? He's supposed to be like this badass, whatever. The arrogance I can get for sure. Plus people who are like experts in Bruce Lee, who are friends with him, his daughter obviously, knew that he wasn't like that in real life, and saying those things about Cassius Clay and stuff. I don't know, it's tough because, I mean, obviously Tarantino respects him. We see him throughout the movie later, you know, teaching Sharon and stuff, which happened in real life. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting.
Cliff Booth being a wife killer, do anything? Does that also mean that's a fantasy too? Because now that you bring that up, I'm connecting that someone did bring up that flashback of him with his wife. Does he shoot her? Some people claim he 100% shoots her.
Some people seem... I mean, I don't know if we're delving into Once Upon a Time spoilers now.
Is that a spoiler? That's like...
But yeah, I think Tarantino intentionally leaves that ambiguous, although it does feel like a Natalie Wood reference, so I don't know.
We'll see. Tarantino comes after us. What did I say?
Hobbs and Shaw hit theaters last weekend, but a report from the Wall Street Journal revealed surprising details about the contracts for stars Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel when it comes to their involvement in the Fast and Furious. The article states that Statham negotiated an agreement that limits how badly he can be beat up on screen. Vin Diesel restricts the number of punches he can take, and The Rock mandates that he always give as good as he gets in a fight on screen. Additionally, Vin Diesel had the idea to put a value on every move so that it's easier to monitor how much beating and getting beaten the actors have done. Art, yay or nay, it's smart to restrict the amount of punches you're allowed to take in an action movie.
No. No. Absolutely not. Now we're not talking no best out of 3 or whatever else. We're literally talking about creating like a story where it can't be done. We had a whole conversation over this, and I won't drag it all over again, but it's very clear that they've had their issues between the two. One not wanting to think, one thinking the entire cast except one, and then Vince saying, I'm glad that I helped minorities like yourself, Rock, break into this industry. Those are some ways you can't come back from. Obviously, they had their franchise. It was a bromance franchise. One bro died. Another bro came in, started his own spinoff. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like seeing that, because that to me is product placement. The products are now just people.
Yeah.
That's all I'll put it.
So I'm going to say that it's kind of a good thing, actually. And I'm going to bring up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in order to talk about this. Because an interesting thing that happens in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I guess maybe minor spoilers, but not really, is they talk about how they use the Rick Dalton character to make other action stars look good, right? Like, when you see a guy and you have a perception of him as a big action star, and then you see someone else beat up that big action star by, some mathematical phrase that I don't know the name of, by transitive property, you feel that person is stronger than the first action star, or at least on his level. There's like something about that idea that if you can match up with somebody, then you're on their level. So while I don't think you should necessarily be like, he's already taken 10 punches in the scene, maybe let's move on, I like the idea of being able to monitor just how much is going one way or the other in order to help balance the way the scene is feeling. It's turning movies into math a little bit, but it seems like a smart way to kind of see how to try and trick the viewer in a way into feeling certain ways about certain fights. It's smart to me.
I hate that I do agree with you.
Yes!
It's a good point. I disagree with it, but because I have written that down. It reminds me of the Jim effect. Remember when Jim? I even called him Jim. What's his real name? Quiet Place. Jim from The Office.
Shoot, now.
Thanks for thanks for making my point.
Krasinski.
Thanks for making my point. Krasinski was so much like Jim, we couldn't get it out of it, right? I called him Jim for so long until he did what? Like 27 war movies. In Aloha, he didn't even speak, but he was a soldier. 13 Hours soldier. Jack Ryan, get out of here. He tried so hard. After he got denied Captain America, he's like, that's it. No more roles where I stare into the camera with a goofy face. I do agree with you. It is. It's like, I hate it, but it is. That's the product. I've even made this video about The Rock. He refuses. It is on all of his contracts. He cannot die. And he refuses to play the bad guy, which is why I'm really curious how the Black Adam's going to be because, well, I mean, the bad guy gets his own movie, so he really is the main character. The only problem I have with it is like, I feel like it takes away from the story. It's okay to lose sometimes. I hate that The Rock does that. But I get what you're saying. Yo, Dragon Ball Z fans will know what I'm talking about. When it comes to arguing about who's stronger, they will bring up episode 470, you know? So it's like... Yeah. I like you said, that they're making it to a point where it's like, well, the lore is written out. It may feel like a product to me, but technically, we now have like statistics on these characters and their strengths. Mm-hmm. But as my friend over here, who is a not big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, sometimes it becomes so cartoony where it's like, I don't know.
Honestly, you guys, like, you talking about this and you saying sometimes it's okay to lose makes me like the movie even less. After you watch it, you'll understand.
Oh, granted, I have not seen Hobbs and Shaw. We're working on a Let Me Explain for the original 8. So that's the reason I've only seen those, and I'm aware of the debacles that happened with the Fate of the Furious. I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw yet. Fernando did not like it, and I guess it's adding to the point. Man, I would have a lot more to say maybe if I had seen it, but as of now, I see the point, Zachary. I see the point. Don't like it, though.
Legendary motion capture performer turned filmmaker Andy Serkis will direct Venom 2. The man behind Gollum most recently directed the 2017 drama Breathe, as well as last year's Mowgli movie for Netflix. But Art, yay or nay, Serkis is a good choice for the Venom sequel.
Yes. Honestly, I think his effects can go super crazy for a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Mowgli was that bad. I personally don't think it was that bad.
I didn't see it.
And I like, it's on Netflix, you can catch it right now. And I like Andy Serkis, and I had fun with Venom. I'm excited for it. Very excited.
I didn't have fun with Venom, but I also kind of like, maybe a little, but like I kind of watched it in the background and didn't give it as much attention as in.
There's only one way to watch it.
It's not. I'm not super into the superhero thing anyway, and because it had gotten these weird reviews, I was just, I don't know.
It felt like an ad movie to you. TNT in the background.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, maybe I'll give it another shot before the sequel comes out, but Andy Serkis's involvement doesn't necessarily get me any more excited.
Really?
I'll say this, that I haven't seen either of his movies, but I haven't heard anything about either of those movies that's made me interested in him much as a filmmaker. So
you see Jungle Book?
What?
Did you see Jungle Book?
Yeah.
Did you see Lion King?
Like that either.
Did you see Lion King?
Lion King?
Yeah.
We talked about it last week.
So if Jon Favreau directed Venom 2, you would be there.
Nah, I don't like. Well, if you maybe because I like Jon Favreau, even though I don't like those two movies.
I'm just making a joke because they both face each other when they were both like, "Oh, you making a Jungle Book movie?" Because like, I'm like the motion capture guy.
Yeah.
And like, remember because his was also supposed to get a theatrical release,
right?
And little by little, Netflix, it was like, "Yay, we got picked up by Netflix." It's like, we're pro streaming here, but I don't think that's what you were going for.
Fernando, any thoughts on Andy Serkis taking over?
Exactly like Art said. My first immediate thought was he could do some stuff with motion capture, like the effects on Venom, like.
Yeah, I mean that's potentially exciting.
Weren't the best, but if Andy Serkis,
but if they were the best,
could bring over his Planet of the Apes crew to help him out with that, I think that would be pretty dope. In terms of his actual directing quality, like Mowgli, I didn't see Breathe, but I didn't hear good things about it. We'll see.
Yeah. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have made 4 movies together, but none since The World's End in 2013. But the British funnymen could be rejoining in a new ghost-busting Amazon horror comedy. The pair will star as paranormal investigators in 8 half-hour episodes of a show that they've also co-written. Art, yay or nay, you're excited to see Pegg and Frost reunite.
Yeah, and I like the 8 episodes, 30 minutes each. Where's it streaming?
Amazon.
Bro, Amazon just gave us The Boys. Have y'all seen the... Ooh.
Not yet.
Yeah. In other words, it sounds like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are going to be able to do whatever they want.
Are you a fan of Paul?
No. Well, I have to watch it again. When I first watched Paul, it was like I'd seen it in the middle of like a 3-movie Thursday night, and I was like, what is this?
I didn't really like Paul, and that being the only experience I have with both of them that didn't include Edgar Wright, that makes me a little more hesitant about this show. Okay. If Edgar Wright suddenly becomes involved, then this is near the top of my list. But I'm not sold quite yet.
That'd be insane.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
Yeah,
I love them. I think they're hilarious.
I like the premise too.
And then what was that?
The premise that he said about the
show?
I
think the premise could be really interesting. Like paranormal, like hunting. You said.
Paranormal investigators.
I think that'd be really cool to add some like horror elements in there too, maybe.
Yeah, boy.
Have them like get scared shitless. That'd be funny. And them separate, like recently, and being like in different things, they've been good. I think Nick Frost was recently in Fighting with My Family. I thought he was hilarious in that.
Oh my goodness! I'm pretty sure. What's his name? Simon Pegg is in The Boys too.
Oh,
he's playing a father to a 25-year-old. That threw me back a bit.
I mean, I guess that works. But
I guess.
I don't like to think about that. The man behind some of this century's most iconic horror movies, including Saw, Insidious, and The Conjuring, is lining up a new original idea. This fall, James Wan will direct a horror film based on an idea from him and Ingrid Bisou. The plot details are being kept under wraps, but it's said to be a slice of horror that Wan hasn't touched on yet. So, Art, yay or nay, James Wan is the most exciting voice currently working in horror movies.
See a little twist you did on that one right there.
Yeah.
You want to get me in some trouble. Nay? That said, can I give you my yes? Well, Ari exists. That said, though, Ari's taking a break. Out of my bunch, it's Ari. And then Eggers. Then him. Then Jordan. I know I'm missing a bunch of other ones right now. Kent.
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. That said, my man took Furious 7. Been banking it on them Insidiouses. On them Conjurings.
That's true.
Got DC checks now. He's a part of DC, Fast and Furious, all these big franchises. You had an original project? This is what you've been waiting for?
I'm hoping.
Is this something you've never touched?
Some financial funding that he didn't have access to before.
I have been waiting for these big directors to give me their and yours. You know, Nolan always gave us the Dark Knight. Okay, here's Prestige. This one. Here's Interstellar. Okay, here's Dunkirk. What you got, Juan? Because I've sat through Aquaman. I've sat through Furious 7. I've sat through all of your sequels. Give me something. Do you know the scariest part about this? And maybe this affects because I want you to answer it too, Dick.
Please.
Does him directing, I'm just looking at 7 here. Does him directing a new property scare you, worry you, knowing that Eggers, the 3 I mentioned, Eggers, Peele, and
Aster.
Ari, Aster, all have like 100%, this isn't getting a sequel unless I'm touching it. As opposed to his where he has no say in it. Does it worry you that this new project, unless now he's powerful enough, it won't escape him now?
It doesn't worry me. That's not the word I would use. I think James Wan makes a different type of horror movie than your Ari Asters, your Robert Eggers, and to an extent even your Jordan Peele's, although Peele is commercial in a way that I don't think the other two are. I think James Wan is kind of like
They said we're in an era of bad movies. Everyone who you just named. Keep going. I apologize.
I think James Wan is more like our new Wes Craven in that he kind of has a few different types of ideas. He's going to give us a few classics. You're from Chicago. You're not an alien to the Rings argument that says that Jordan is the best player of all time. Well, if we're doing like Rings, James Wan's got Saw. He's got Insidious. He's got The Conjuring. Like none of the people we mentioned have 3 classics that way. I feel like until we see a little bit more consistency from some people, he's kind of got the belt.
Okay. That said, though, That said, though, you're choosing Wes Craven over a Kubrick, over a Hitchcock. If that's what we're comparing the other two to.
Well, no, because those are different eras.
Oh,
but I think I'm not choosing them over. Look, I think if you're asking what my favorite style is, what my favorite filmmaker is of the bunch, I'm not going with James Wan. But if we're going about, like, he's kind of the guy who has his pulse on, like, what an effective horror movie is, he seems to be that guy right now.
The Drake line, if he was in a genre that gave, or a sport, if movies were sports and he got rings, he wouldn't have enough fingers in the hands for that many rings. That is true. Yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah. What about you?
All right,
I got it. He's got to answer it.
Yeah, Fernando.
I'm on art side.
Blumhouse? Unbelievable.
What?
You think Truth or Dare, the director of Truth or Dare,
I was going to say
the best projects?
I think if we're talking about right now, like, the horror, like, people out there, I think, like, James Wan, obviously one of the directors, but, like, Jason Blum, like, as a whole, like, what he's doing for horror, I think is great. And I think, an original story from him in this time where we're getting all these original stories, I think is a no-brainer. That's hopefully going to be good. Hopefully it's not some, like, weird
thing. It's going to be great. I have no doubts in that. That's why he switched the question on me. He knows it's going to be good.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't pick him over Ari or Eggers or Peele. But I think he's still a really good director. And he gives a lot of people, like, obviously, like, he didn't direct a lot of the sequels to his movies, but that was still able to give people, like, outlets. Like, the guy who did Shazam, like the Lights Out guy.
Oh, you know I love this story right here. Yeah, the way he always is waiting there and he's bringing back up his team. Yeah, I love that the most. That's one of the things I love the most about every single movie that I cover of his. I always bring that up. But to end it, I'm going with W.S. Anderson. I changed my mind. He's the best one out there. Bring back Underworld.
All right, so that's it for Yay or Nay. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover on future shows by emailing them into intercutpod@gmail.com or leaving us a comment on YouTube. But we move on to Interview, where we answer the viewers' questions. And we got an email from Gio, who wrote in to recommend something to us. Okay. Hey guys, just want to recommend this show called Inside Number 9. It's a British anthology show, like Black Mirror. If you're still hesitant, just please watch the episode 12 Days of Christine. I actually don't know if I've even heard of this one, but I've never heard of this one. I like Black Mirror. I like anthology.
I also like how he pitched it. This looks 100% Rotten Tomatoes, all those different things. It looks like a British show. Yeah, BBC 9. What always gets me is when someone goes, "Yo, you need to watch this show. Look, I know you're busy. Watch this." I was like, okay, you know. It's like, oh, you should try this restaurant. What should I get from the restaurant? That menu's big. I like how he's like, if you don't watch anything else, watch this. I'm going to watch it. I like that. That shows he has confidence in this thing. And it's on Hulu. Yeah. Okay. I think.
That makes it easy.
Dope.
Mimi wrote us on Twitter to ask, is Kevin Smith's Dogma worth a watch or is it too preachy? I don't think you've seen this one, Art.
I haven't. We actually had a discussion about this, you and I, because I'll let you go.
I don't personally find the movie too preachy, and that's coming from someone who doesn't really have a much religious background. I don't know if you maybe are more involved in it, that you would find it to be a little more preachy or a little more sacrilege. But I kind of feel like the movie just is sort of a clever, like, twisting of familiar tropes. It works more as a comedy than necessarily like a life philosophy. But to me, it's one of Kevin Smith's best comedies because it's actually about something, unlike a lot of his other movies.
What do you mean? You mean Tusk? You didn't learn the lesson in Tusk about not allowing podcasters to get high and write their scripts? It's a good lesson.
Mimi also asked us, best Pixar film versus best Disney animated film. So this one requires a little bit of thought. You got to think of what your best Pixar movie is and what your best Disney animated movie is. I'm assuming we're going in like the recent Disney animation era, not all-time Disney animation. So for me, it's probably a battle of Ratatouille versus Wreck-It Ralph, and I go Ratatouille there. I love Ratatouille. Everyone can cook.
Good Dinosaur and Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'd have to give it to Robots. No, I'm probably going Nemo. it's difficult because I always swap between Nemo, Monsters Inc., and the Toy Story as a whole.
Yeah.
But since I've seen Nemo the most, I'm going to have to go Nemo versus Tangled, believe it or not.
Oh.
Huge Tangled fan. I know it's a recent one, but I think it's a recent classic. Someone told me today that it's like the remakes are ruining the animation of Disney. The animated Disney movies are gone. I was like, Tangled, Frozen, Moana? I couldn't. Somebody made a comment so stupid. You're like, what? Tangled versus Finding Nemo, and Nemo just keeps swimming.
For me, it's Coco and Tangled also. I was going to say Tangled. I think Tangled's great.
Right?
That last song, Lights?
It's the one with the lights. Oh, my God.
It's great, dude. And then Coco. Coco's my favorite animated movie, so easy.
That's how we
on
met,
Twitter,
really.
we also got some questions about Luce, one of our favorite films from Sundance, which is out now in some theaters.
Again?
Talk about it.
One person said they left feeling the thriller aspects went over their head. Art, I'm wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Yes. There was a review from RogerEbert.com. I don't know the critic's name off the top of the head, but you can check out their Luce review. I disagreed with this particular critic when it came to... And as you know, Zach and I, all of us really here, we love reading everything, even if we disagree with it, because we want to see what the other spectrum is, just to be like, I ain't going to get caught off guard. I don't even know what this is. The review for Shaft was that they felt that it played for too many generations. The older generation, Sam Jackson's generation, then the more PC generation with this new Shaft. And he felt that didn't play the way. I personally felt that worked great. We had a very similar disagreement. It's interesting when, like you and I read Richard Brody for a particular reason. He's becoming my new guy, but more so it's like I'm reading him and it's like I'm seeing his perspective and he gets it. We disagree a lot, but I found myself reading a lot of his reviews. He also didn't like Luce. He is black, so he had that perspective, and he did acknowledge he's like a bunch of my white peers and black peers do love this movie. I understand that I'm in the...
You're talking about the Roger Ebert critic.
Yes. But he brought up a particular point that goes with this comment about it not really feeling like the message is fully there. And it's really crazy for me to say this, but I think that's the point. And I think that's why so many people are going to come out hating it, because the whole point that he's saying is that not everything is so black and white. Everything is so gray. And for me, I thought it was so ballsy to put that in a movie, knowing so many people would get pissed off. Or even worse, because it happens to us all the time. It's going to get misinterpreted so badly. I think it's a masterpiece. I think that's the point. I think it's a Rorschach test, almost.
Yeah.
Of like, who are you seeing here? I heard someone say this morning, he's a psychopath. It's the first black psychopath we've had in a movie. And I'm like, perhaps. Someone said, that's not a psychopath, that's a hero. And I'm like, this is a masterpiece. Are you not seeing what? Like, how does this not intrigue you to watch the movie even more? I do want to get to more spoilers, but to put it lightly, I think that's the beauty of the movie. And I'm glad he's feeling that way, and I'm glad you reached out. And I'm curious to know more what you thought about it than anything. Because obviously I'm going to have a video of my thoughts, but I am curious to see all these different perspectives. How did you take it? Because I know we didn't talk too much about it. You didn't love it as much as I did.
No, but I did think it was really great. It was one of my favorites at Sundance. I'm more on your side than the side of people who are giving the movie.
It's my favorite of the year. I keep forgetting, like, that's my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with you that I think what is smart and ballsy about the movie is that it is, I believe, intentionally a bit messy. There's a lot of movies that touch on issues that this movie touches on, and it wants to kind of signal you as to what is right, what is wrong, who is good, who is evil. And this movie intentionally kind of has characters you like do things that you don't, and has characters you don't like make the right decision. And I think that's a more reflective view of the human experience.
Yeah, you need to watch this movie, Fernando.
You remember you remember what I told you when I saw it?
Oh, you did catch it.
Yeah, I did see it.
Wait, what did you say?
I told you that the Luce hated that kid. I got so mad at him.
Oh yeah, and I was like, why? I knew why, but
yeah, it's definitely one of the Sundance movies I want to see again the most, only because I saw it at 9 a.m.
Got it the same way, dude. We missed the first 5 minutes. I was confused. I was like, why are his parents what? Oh,
yeah,
he's adopted.
And then
okay, I was like, what?
I had to step out for like a crucial scene apparently, and then I came back and I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh, this man.
So I definitely want to see it again. I didn't love it as much as you guys, but I'm definitely open to learning everything again. Like watching
this man left at a scene that's like leaving The Last Jedi during the entire Luke flashback and not knowing why Kylo hates his uncle. Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah. So
get out of here.
Moises on Twitter also wanted to know your thoughts on the Tenet trailer. This is the latest movie from Christopher Nolan, and they debuted the trailer before Hobbs and Shaw.
Which is where I'm waiting to see it. It's a teaser. I trust Nolan with his teasers. I'm very big on not seeing spoilers when it comes to like a big blockbuster. One person did see it here, so I'm going to let him take the shine.
Very short teaser, you know. They were throwing like all like the long trailers for Joker and stuff like that. Do you guys want me to tell you like what I saw in it, or you just want to see it for yourself?
I want to know your thoughts about it. Did it make you excited?
It did make me excited. It showed you the actors he's working with, who are really great. I mean, John David Washington is the main focus of the teaser. After BlacKkKlansman, he's going to be a superstar, I think.
And Monsters and Men, all right?
And Monsters and Men,
respect the indies out here.
Very ambiguous, so I was like, what is going on? I think, did you guys see like this clip this guy like recorded from the set where like these cars are going backwards? These cars are driving backwards, and they're like, Christopher Nolan's like gonna play with like time again, and people were like, no, they're just like resetting the scene to go again.
Yeah, there are some rumors out there that this may be connected to Inception.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe that's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't really want it to be, but I feel like, you know, we're not going to get a sequel to Inception either way.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's Nolan going back to his big budget, like blockbuster action realm. So if you weren't a big fan of Dunkirk, I think this will play much more up your alley in terms of Nolan from the teaser, which is like a minute.
That made me excited. I'll be watching it tomorrow before Hobbs and Shaw.
All right, well, make sure to leave us a question in the YouTube comments or by emailing us at intercutpod@gmail.com to get it featured on the next show during our interview segment. You can also reach out to us on Twitter, on Facebook, or Instagram. Our handle is at intercutpod on all three. Intercut POD, that's short for podcast. Be an intercutie and send us your movie, TV, and entertainment questions. But it's topic of the week time. Ooh. The Irishman finally debuted its highly anticipated first full trailer. Martin Scorsese's long-developing project with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino has been subject of much speculation because Netflix has put a lot of money into the film, specifically into the digital de-aging technology meant to make the film's stars look younger. This, of course, isn't the only example of digital de-aging in recent films. Earlier this year, Captain Marvel featured a de-aged Sam Jackson as Nick Fury in the 90s. Avengers Endgame also did some digital de-aging on its cast to aid in its time travel elements, and several other Marvel films have featured it in briefer moments. As technology improves, it becomes easier to manipulate an actor's face in realistic ways, but art. Are you a fan of the frequency with which we've been seeing digital de-aging technology in movies?
Nay. I think they should be hiring new actors. I think that the technology would be good if they still kind of did the Paul Walker thing, but still had a stand-in for someone to emote. I can't say I'm against it because then I'd sound like a hypocrite because I'm such a huge fan of the motion capture work, and I truly think he's an artist, that Andy Serkis has done. So I can't say the de-aging effect is bad because it's just an effect. Do I think it's been used for its best power? Kind of. I mean, it was used to pay tribute to Carrie. It was used to pay tribute to Paul Walker. When it comes to the story itself, though, we had talked about this earlier. I think it's terrible in Captain Marvel. Not so much the effect itself as it was they forgot that Jackson himself is still old and he's not running like the young version he's supposed to be. I saw the Irishman trailer and I was a little confused by it because the first time I had seen it, I came back and I told these guys, like, I don't see anything. And then they tell me it's like, oh, yeah, he was de-aged there. So I go watch it again from the actual Netflix one. And I see the ending and I'm like, what? I don't even think their age. Couldn't makeup have done that? I start to wonder that argument that we get into is like, yeah, but can't we have practical effects here? There's a point, again, I don't mean to continue bringing up this series, but this is the one that we have within the middle where they started going full green screen before they start going back to actually using cars. And you could tell the difference before each movie, right? I'd see it. I was like, this works. Let me see why. Oh, did they change something? Special features. Yes, they no longer are actually having them drive the cars for safety. They're now in a green screen, and Paul Walker is laughing. He can't take himself seriously jiggling in the green screen stuff. Do I think it can... It's weird because I don't know when it's been used unless it's getting publicized. It's the same argument we have with CGI where it's like, we argue about CGI, but when it's good, sometimes we don't notice it, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that there have been a lot of uses of technology like this, but I think it's the extent to which The Irishman is proposing to use it and the radical change of it. You know, because we've seen, whether it's like some of the Benjamin Button effects or it's just individual moments in other movies, we've seen elements of this, but to follow a main character through large sections of a film in which you're supposed to believe that character is potentially like 30 years younger than the actor playing him, that is what does feel a little bit novel about this. It's what's different than what we can just achieve with some makeup and some wigs or whatever.
So it works for you? I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say. But if it works, I mean...
When it works for me, it's in the smaller moments. I'm a fan of seeing those moments sometimes in the Marvel movies, particularly because I feel like there's been versions of that where you're supposed to believe it's a certain actor, and I'm not a big enough fan to put together the pieces of like, oh yeah, that must be a younger Kurt Russell or something.
So it's way easier to actually have Kurt Russell de-aged. I feel you.
If it's for a brief moment like that,
yes.
If it's for a flashback or something. But when we're talking about something like The Irishman, or we're looking at a movie like Ang Lee's upcoming film, Gemini Man, I don't know if you had the chance to see that trailer, but it features Will Smith battling against essentially a younger version of Will Smith. At certain points, I feel like you're almost paying more attention to the technology than you are to the film, and it does kind of result in this uncanny valley. Like, I do think there's almost a more interesting angle to if they had cast somebody who resembles a young Will Smith in the movie. And to me, where I feel like this technology potentially should move to, I think about a movie like Looper, where I believe Joseph Gordon-Levitt wore a false nose for most of it in order to look more like Bruce Willis.
Goofy.
And what would be cool is if they actually cast actors and then just use the digital face technology to maybe like make it look a little more like, oh yeah, that I see why he's a young Will Smith.
Yeah, there's people who like look alike, and then you can actually get them there. The biggest worry with that, I'm sure, as we've mentioned multiple times before, is where does the acting come in? It's one of the biggest things that's been happening with the motion capture thing, so I'm not even going to be negative with it. I'm going to be full positive. Sure, hey, I think it can get to a degree where one of the biggest worries has been, like, you can't see the acting in the face because of de-aging. You know, like, right now that I'm mad, what wrinkles go away and stuff like that. But the moment that you can get that working, and I'm still actually seeing De Niro's performance, then I know why you kept De Niro and not just, I don't know, someone new.
Right, like there's a difference between film acting with a face and like video game motion capture acting.
Exactly.
You kind of have to interpret more.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if they were doing the whole dots on their face and stuff, because then that does apply to performance, and if those performances still are eligible for contention in anything, my man's been waiting at the gate. So what's interesting
about The Irishman, I believe, is that they actually don't do any of those like dots on the face thing.
Dude, I don't get what they're doing.
It's all just shot in a way that they can alter it after the fact.
See, so that brings me to, are we getting to the scary part, or are we still just talking about the artistry in this first?
I think we can talk a little bit more about the artistry, and then we can get to the scary
all our
part,
actors are gonna die. They're gonna take digital copies of all of them, just like Jet Li said. I've been saying this over and over again. Okay, this is what is happening here. First of all, Ang Lee is 100% a part of this. All right, which and Ang Lee, I'll let pass. Like, that man shot a movie in 742,000 frames per second. For no one to ask for that, it's just a guy walking. Really. And then he's like, hey, Gemini Man, who wants to see Oblivion, but with Will Smith and some de-aging stuff? They just give that man money. I'm cool with it, because where I really want to see it work is in shows. Where I really want to see it work is where, like, and I agree with what you said, the big spectacle for Gemini Man is, ooh, Will Smith young. We didn't even talk about how we felt about the Irishman trailer. We're talking about the de-aging, and so is everybody else in the Irishman trailer. So once it can start becoming a thing where it's like, okay, we're cool with this, just like with 3D, we're done with that. Dope. How can we, with frame rates, we now get that frame rates can be done for different dope. Let's see how it can be used. I'm curious to see how.
Are you going to make this technology useful to me?
There we go. But that was my Lion King argument before I released that video and got a bunch of crap for that, but we'll see. I always think that there is use for technology when it comes into the future. I love that the person. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, the fact that these upcoming movies that we're talking about are coming from Martin Scorsese and Ang Lee, two masters of cinema, makes me feel like there must be a little bit more than just like, oh, this is a fun
These
gimmick.
are the guys, yeah.
Yeah,
the guys who know.
The Irishman has been in development for a long time. I thought it was coming out last year.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I thought it was never going to come out. I thought I was going to get
New
Mutants
before. So they're really taking their time with it and trying to get this right, I guess.
When you saw the trailer, the first minute, did it make you just want to go rewatch everything? It makes me want to go buy all of his movies in 4K. I don't even think they're in 4K. It made me want to rewatch Casino and Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, but I'm watching Taxi Driver in September. It's called The Joker. Do you know he's producing it?
Yeah.
Because it's practically literally ready for Art's guess of that? Because it's literally going to be a shot. Yes, it is a how do you call it? A Minecraft skin. That's all that happened in this movie. I'm calling it right now in the Intercut podcast. That is all that movie is, and I'm not even upset. It's just. That's funny to me. And I'm going to find it really funny because I just released a Lion King video. All that stuff was said, but I stay with it that as long as the technology can be used for something good and it's used and it's being helmed by filmmakers who we trust. A lot of people giving John Favreau stuff, but he knows it. This man knows it.
Yeah, and so looking at the plots of these two movies, The Irishman is something that's supposed to take place over across several decades in which it makes sense that we would want to be able to see the actor aging through these decades. So I guess there's a reason for the technology. Gemini Man, as we mentioned, it's a older Will Smith battling a younger Will Smith. So it's cool to see that there is some plot motivation for this technology. It's not just, wouldn't it be cool if Robert De Niro was 20 years younger?
Yeah, I hope they prove us wrong. I hope it works.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wonder if there is going to be something even more unique.
What the next one is?
Yeah,
I just told you that it's Jet Li being cast in a movie where Jet Li never stepped on the set.
All right, so let's go apocalyptic. What is your grand fear about the digital de-aging technology and this mapping of actors' faces as we move forward in Hollywood? Give us the Congress
I don't know how
theory.
much I can say. Oh, well, you said it. I was just going to say the Congress. Rated PG-13.
Not everybody's seen the Congress, though.
Rated R. It's streaming now. Yeah, not everybody has seen the Congress. Congress is a great movie to kind of give you this whole idea of what's happening with VR and the idea that you can literally capture an actor's entire movements. I believe every NBA player, I don't believe it, it's true. They tell you before everything. They are the express written consent form that you need for. They are the players. The players, they own, that's their content. I mean, we really are getting there. Some filmmakers don't own their movies. They don't own the voices. Tom Hanks looked at a vault of all the Toy Story noises he made. They're like, they can replicate everything we can. Face app.
Yeah.
That's what we have our hands on. I don't know what they have their hands on. I don't know how crazy their deep fakes go.
It's so easy now.
I'm just saying.
It's like really easy to do that stuff
It's
now.
really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't even me. No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be crazy if it was Alina the whole time? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's where it's getting. Does it worry you, the fact that, Marty, thank you for fighting the streaming fight. But we're barely over that one. Why'd you have to bring de-aging in it too? I was like, can we handle one? We're trying to get people to embrace streaming.
Yeah. We've come a long way from Tron, though, if you think about it.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
And the fact that now, like you guys mentioned, we saw a little bit sparsely through the blockbusters. They were doing it, and then we're like seeing it in the indies, right? And like the small.
It was that
Oscar
conversation we had about Lion King.
Yeah.
Ugh. this photorealism is disgusting, and in 4 years we're gonna go, I just love how name an India director, how they use it.
Sean Baker.
Oh, I just love how Sean Baker shot it in an iPhone in the VR. Yeah, whatever it's gonna be, it's always the same thing. We'll still be here. Intercut podcast on Spotify.
And you said you didn't notice it that much, right?
I didn't notice it the first time I watched the trailer.
I didn't notice it either, and then I was like, oh yeah, they did use the aging. If you look up Robert De Niro now, you'll see how different he looks.
Right.
Because this man's wrinkled. Like,
are you ready for it? I realized they were that old.
They're so old. But yeah, you'll notice it after. I was like, damn.
And I was like, of course, I just saw Pacino.
It looked pretty solid in the trailer for The Irishman. I mean,
yeah.
It distracted me from paying any attention to what the movie's really about. I think they mentioned Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
But, cool.
Crazy, though. Crazy.
Looking forward to that. Hopefully I'll catch it at New York Film Festival, where it was recently announced as the opening night film.
Are you seeing it opening night? You're going to try to catch it?
I'm hoping. We'll see.
Right. I'm going to catch it on Netflix on this phone right here.
All right, so that's it for our topic of the week. Let us know what you thought by emailing us or by leaving us a comment. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at IntercutPod. It's time, though, for our last segment in the New to See, and that's the pick for the week. Art, what are you recommending the people watch at home or in theaters or on the go?
I want you guys to leave the house just for one thing. That's Luce. Luce is my favorite movie of the year. We talked about it today. Yeah, it's my favorite movie of the year. You ever talk about a movie and you're like, yep, that's my favorite movie of the year. Other than that, if you don't need to leave your house, Zach, give me a streaming platform. Let's play that game.
Spin the wheel and it lands on Amazon.
The Boys. Watch it. First 5 minutes blew me away. I'm like, you're allowed to do that in a show? Seth Rogen and crew, sorry for disrespecting the rest. I can't remember who else worked on it, but I know that they're producers on the show. Incredible. Imagine the Avengers as a miniseries, rated R. They're sick. They're disgusting. I love that show. Spin the wheel.
Let's go with Hulu.
Hulu. I don't actually have a new one, but Broad City, go watch. Oh, no. I got one for Hulu. It is a weird one. Stephen Curry's a producer, and this man is producing some of the craziest things. He has a reality TV show on ABC. You can catch it on Hulu. I have seen every single episode. It's called Holy Moly. It is an extreme golfing competition. I have not missed an episode. I don't do reality TV. I don't miss an episode of Holy Moly. I don't miss an episode of Holy Moly.
Spinning the wheel and Netflix.
Netflix. Ooh, there's too many things. Sinner season 2.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you were a big fan of the first season of the show. Have you finished the second season, or are you working your way
Barely
through?
Started the first episode. A bit back when I saw it. Getting a haircut today. Guy next to me getting buzzed. Bro, have you seen Sinner season 2? What about it? He goes, it's better than season 1. I say, you telling me I need to change my Monday night plans? He said they already been changed.
All right.
And Euphoria, before we spin it. Last wheel. That's so many to watch from home. Euphoria, in case you didn't have HBO. But that's one for you, and every single platform. Watch them. There's so much deliciousness outside. What do you guys have?
Fernando.
All right. If you don't want to stay home, and if you want to go to a theater this weekend, let's see. For the family, go watch Dora. Support the Latinos, right? I'm going to go see Dora, right? All right, don't put your head down. I'm
gonna go see Dora too. I'm listening to you. I'm buying my tickets.
See. Other indies, don't go see Scary Stories because it look kind of bad. Peanut Butter Falcon comes out this weekend. One of your favorites too. What? Scary Stories?
Yeah, it does. I like how you support Latino films. Guillermo.
Oh damn! I forgot he produced it.
Oh, you forgot that one. How quickly we forget.
Okay, go see that. And then Peanut Butter Falcon, and go see the Farewell.
Farewell. That's a good.
Apparently, he's doing really good at the box office. So
yeah, that's dope. I'm so happy for that. I can't wait. I don't know what her next film is gonna be. There's gonna be so much eyes on it.
It's gonna be her and Barry Jenkins.
Can you imagine? Like a Big Sean, G.I. Ankle, just collab? They'd be insane. What about you, Zach? What you got?
All right, so I got 2 recommendations. One is a streaming recommendation on Amazon. I finally watched the second season of Fleabag. And, oh, wow. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is just a phenomenon. You've probably heard about it already.
I didn't even know she was, a culture movement. People were, from the UK going, bro, I've been keeping her on for so long, but now that she's hit the stage,
she got a jumpsuit trending on Twitter. Like it's just a big thing. Whatever she touches,
she's a big deal.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think it's because there's just a sharpness to her observations and the dialogue in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are commended for their witty dialogue, but there's something particular about the way that she's able to process the modern world and just quickly sort through all these like anxieties and different issues that we have around us, and kind of just do a funny, cynical spin on them. It feels like she has no filter,
mm-hmm.
and the show particularly goes to some really, really crazy places, considering that second season is about her relationship with a hot priest, played by Andrew Scott. But I found it really profound. I found it really emotionally moving by the end. And there's something that I know that I just know that you definitely loved. There's a meta-ness that occurs in the second season. And it ends on a note that I saw Art enjoying it. Because those are some of the things that I know tickle your fancy. Yeah,
dude, I looked at Alita and I was like, did they just do what I think they did? And I went crazy at it when I did the video. It blows my mind. I love that stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's weird to compare to First Man, but I think you know what it's so drastically different. But there's a moment in First Man, there's a moment in Mommy, there's a moment in this, there's a moment in The Wizard of Oz that are just like, it's not Deadpool breaking the fourth wall.
It's kind of like a moment that makes you like reconsider the whole thing.
Cinema. Like, what was like, wow. Shout out to the Intercut viewers, because unless it was a Let Me Explain fan, I'm pretty sure it was someone on our comments who had said, watch Fleabag. I did. It's so easy. Have you seen it, Fernando?
So
I haven't, no, but...
Dude, 6 episodes. What, 30
You'll
apiece?
sit down and you'll
finish.
it's
like,
done.
What, 15, 30 minutes? 30?
Dude, you
they're
can finish
30
both
minutes,
seasons.
but each season 6
it's
episodes.
Like a movie.
And it's just so bingeable.
I watched
Like you just get absorbed
seasons.
in her world and her way of talking.
It's literally half the length of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a breeze. You go right through it. It's worth it, though.
Are you guys ready for Bond to throw out some witty comments?
We had this discussion because we feel like there's 10 writers on Bond. I don't know. I feel like they're only like she's doing fix-ups. I hope it's more, but I think it's that. It does make me want to check out her Netflix show, Crashing.
Yeah, Crashing on Netflix. It was before she even made Fleabag.
Exactly. I'm glad you shouted that one out. Shout out to the inner cuties who had mentioned that one.
And just in passing, I'll mention a podcast I've really enjoyed. It's just 6 episodes. It's called Running from Cops. It's a show that takes on the famous reality show Cops and just goes beneath the surface on it. Talks a little bit about, some questions you've thought about but never really got the answer to. Like, how did they get all these people to sign release forms to appear on the show where they look awful? And can you consent to being on a TV show if you're really high on drugs and getting arrested? And stuff like that. It's a really fascinating look at a show that is a cultural movement. Whether you're a fan of Cops or were a fan of Cops or just caught it on a sick day in middle school, I think you'll really enjoy the series. It's just 6 episodes. Running from Cops. It's the 3rd season of the Headlong podcast. I thought it was really, really good.
Is it on Spotify?
Believe it is on Spotify, just like the Intercut podcast. That's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. That's at ZSHE, V as in voodoo, ICH. And check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplex show. Fernando, where can people catch more from you?
You can follow me on Twitter at border_logic and you could also check out the A-to-Z website, www.theATZshow.com, where I'll be writing a little bit, and you can check out all his videos there. That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, Fernando just published a new piece on the Phase 4 Marvel movies, what to expect from them. So if you want to read up a little bit more of that, we'll put that in the description down below. Art, where can people catch more from you?
You can find me at the A-to-Z Show on all of the platforms there. Let me explain as well. Find us in Toronto. You guys keep teasing me that you're gonna come towards the end of it. I'm hoping.
I want to go.
I want you guys to go. Let's be 100% honest. Film fans who are in film messages, like your group chats, nothing is worse than being the only one who's seen the movie. Like, people think it's cool to have like, oh, I got to see a movie early. It's like, yeah, I get it. But I can't say anything to these guys. And if I do say something, I sound like a complete and utter dick. Like, oh, you don't know about Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse? Like, no, I want to see it. So it's going to be like this painful moment where I can't say anything to any of these guys. And it's so, like, Sundance was such a, it's like, I don't even want to say surreal because we go do it next year. Dope experience, because staying up talking about these movies till like 5 o'clock in the morning, like greener grass, like, that's why you want to go to a film festival for it. But yeah, we'll be at TIFF. We'll be at New York though. I'm hoping we'll at least have that one. Yeah, we'll have New York. But other than that, you don't even need to leave your house. You can listen to us at home on the Intercut podcast.
Yes, you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on Spotify, on your favorite podcatcher. I happen to like Overcast, not that you asked. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on youtube.com/intercutpod. That's our YouTube channel, where you can watch our bright smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of Intercut every Thursday. Please leave a comment, like the video, consider heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review. Like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, all of them at Intercut Pod, to get updates throughout the week from Art, from Fernando, from me, and from all the guests we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, get the rhythm, get the rhythm. There you go. There you fucking go. Get it. That's for you, What's the Matter, and Jordan Bain. Sorry about Patriot.